Here's how my day went yesterday. All right. I had episode 252 of Riter Radio to do. I started that at 10 o'clock like I always do. This is up too loud. It's my headphones that aren't up loud enough that it's making me confused. All right, there we go. I think that's right. Okay. So I had an episode of this show to do. I decided that I would trying to get out of the way of the banner there. I decided that I would end the show early. I had who came on? Bob Gaughan came on yesterday at 11 o'clock. We were done with him at, let's say, 11:25, and then I was going to just play the Nick Bakay conversation that maybe I'll play today. Like, it needs to be aired on the show. There are people that only listen to the show, never go back and listen to the recorded episodes. And it was awesome, and it was Friday. It was episode 250, and something went wrong, and the whole thing didn't air. So then I had it air, but it was taped, it was all recorded, so then I pretended it was live, sort of, and let it premiere on Saturday, but I don't do shows on Saturdays, and I don't know that, you're not sitting at a desk listening or watching or whatever on a Saturday, so like that, nobody's heard this yet. It's there, it's online, but it needs to be a part of the show. So I was like, this is perfect, because I have to get ready. Brain Vault, episode 1 was last night. Live trivia event at the Kaz in South Buffalo. Tickets on sale for next Tuesday right now at thekazbuffalo.com. I had to get ready. There's a lot to do to get ready for a live thing in front of people on a stage with lights and cameras and stuff. And it was a very convenient situation. I was like, all right, I'm going to press play on this. And it's 52 minutes of video and audio. And it works perfectly. So that was how the show was going to end yesterday. That was going to give me an extra, basically, hour to, and even more. Even like there's more to it because I have to do processing of the video afterward. And if I cut an hour out of it, I didn't need to include, like, it would have just very much helped me. And I was like, all right, I'm going to play one song, and then we're going to come back with Nick Bakay. And then I was going to be able to do all kinds of stuff to help get ready for the show. And the Bills hired a coach. They already fired him. That was last week. The Bills hired Joe Brady as their new head coach during that song. Or, the information was released during that song. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll come back. So I stayed on for another half hour, 40 minutes or something, cutting into my prep time. All of this is leading up to, say, going into this thing so that the show starts at 7 in South Buffalo. The doors open at 5:30. My plan was to be there at 5. Things I didn't account for included Joe Brady being hired, pushing everything back an hour, and just the way my brain works trying to get stuff ready. It's like, what am I forgetting? And I just kept thinking of things. Oh, I got to do this. I need these little sheets of paper for people to write on. Oh, I need a bucket for them to put their names into. I need this. I need that. I need printouts of the QR code so people can scan themselves in and play the game. I need to send this slide to this guy. Oh, Jeremy's not going to be there. Jeremy Hoyle, who's the music director, who I've been dealing with at the Kaz, isn't going to be there. He's out of town. So I got this guy, Steve, who tours with Emerson, Lake and Palmer. My lighting guy tours with Emerson, Lake and Palmer. All right. Like, this is real stuff. Anyway, scramble. Next thing you know, I'm in the car. Planned to leave my house at 4:30, left the house at 10 to 5. Forgot about snow. Forgot about rush hour. I thought I was going to be there at 5. I was there at like 5:40. Ugh. On my way there in the snow. I didn't want to take the 290. 290 was going to be a disaster, so there was no way. So I just kept turning. I learned this from my friend David Graham. You're trying to go somewhere, just keep going where you're allowed to go. Remember, we were in a rush going somewhere, and he just kept making all these weird turns, but it was like, we can make a right on red here. Like, yeah, we're going left. Yeah, I know, but I can make a left up here. Like, all this. That was my route. My route yesterday was just turning when I could. Like, oh, there's some space here. I'm going to go that way. Because at least if I'm moving either south or west, I'm doing it right from my house to get there. It didn't work out great, but I felt like I was, producing at the time. It took me forever to get to South Buffalo, but somewhere during that drive, I was like, I'm kind of hungry. And then I thought about it, and I woke up at, I don't know, 8:45 yesterday. 8:45, that's right. Alarm was off at 8:45. Woke up at 8:45, started getting ready for this show, Riter Radio. Not this one. This is 253. That was 252. You know what I mean? Started getting ready for that. Was sitting in this chair. Did the show. Was about to escape to work on stuff. Brady got hired. Stayed on. Sat in the chair. Scramble, 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 scramble. Oh, no. Look at the time. All right. Get everything in a bag. Where are my shoes? Shower. Go. And somewhere during that ride, I realized I didn't eat anything at all. I didn't have breakfast or lunch or dinner. None of the three were a part of my life yesterday. I had pizza when I got home at like 10:30, but I woke up at 8:45 and I didn't eat anything until 10:30. And I don't recommend it. The entire day, I even told my wife. I got home from the thing, and she's like, you know, how did it go? She was there. She was there. My kids were there. That was cool. But, you know, I'm telling her about how everything went, and, you know, she saw the view from the seats, but didn't see the whole, you know, the experience of what was it like early, what was it like throughout, what was it like dealing with people there, the, you know, the light guy, the manager, the owner, all this stuff. So I talked to her. I got home starving, and I think I still just talked. This might surprise you as a person who just talks into a microphone 2 hours a day, but I just was going. Like, I was 100 miles an hour. It's like I was absolutely 100% on adrenaline all day. And I crashed when I got home. I had like 40 minutes or something of me just talking 100 miles an hour at her, where I sounded like I was on coke. Wasn't, never have been. It was nothing. I was on nothing, but adrenaline just pumped up from getting ready, and then how it went, and then everything afterward, and it was a hell of a night, man. Hell of a night for me. But I didn't eat anything, and it was just weird to think about that, because my wife and I were talking about tonight, because tonight is going to be another one of these. All the kids have to be in 3 different places at the same exact time. Who we're splitting up, who's going to basketball, who's going to chorus, who's going to, you know, chorus concert, who's going to something else. I don't remember. Drew's got his podcast club. He's in a podcast club. Surprise, my 9-year-old's in a podcast club. My 9-year-old who spent last night at a bar in South Buffalo playing trivia. Surprise. He's in a podcast club. But we've got, you know, 75 different things. We're talking about all of those, and it's just, I don't know what, I think we're going to be in a spot where dinner is impossible again. But I said, hey, I learned today that I can get up at 9:45 and be up until 10:30 p.m. without eating anything at all. So don't worry about me for dinner. We'll figure it out. Plus, there's a bunch of pizza left over from last night's adventures. So crazy day, crazy night. Anyone who did not attend last night, which is most of the world wasn't there. Even if the place was sold out, most of the world wouldn't have been there. It's a couple hundred people can fit in there. I think we had, I don't know, I bet we had 50 people, something like that, in the crowd, which is A-okay for a first time. But let me first off, I need to thank people for attending last night. Oh, I didn't turn my light on. Oh, let me turn this light on. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but one little light makes it a little brighter. I need more lighting. I need that. I'm in the market for ring lights. I bought this one on, I think it was on Amazon, but I pictured it being like this big, and it's this big. So it's just that. But I need 2 that are like here. And then we'll be good. I just want to thank everyone who made last night happen. I will start with Jeremy Hoyle, who is the music director at the Kaz and also a friend of mine for a long time, and also Strictly Hip. Go see them whenever you get a chance. They're the best. But Jer's the one who's like, hey, do you feel like doing trivia on Tuesdays? And I said, yeah, but it's gonna be more than just trivia. We're gonna do it like a thing. And it was a thing. It's a thing. In order to pull it off, we needed some people in the crowd. And I want to thank, in no particular order, family that came out. I had my wife and kids were there. My parents were there. I had aunts and uncles there. That was awesome. Friends. I had friends that I knew would be there, and then friends that surprised me by being there. And it didn't feel that much different from my wedding. I got married in 2009, and I remember walking out, like, into the church from backstage, wherever you sit, and the green room of the church. Walked out from there, and you know how that goes with the wedding. Like, you come out in the front, and then the bride comes up from the back, and I just kind of, I was in hiding for the first, the hour that people were attending or walking in. What's the word I'm looking for? Arriving, not attending. All right. The hour that people were arriving, I was in a back room, like, hanging out with the best man and, I don't know, talking, sitting there, hiding. And then you walk out, and then you see who's there. And I'm looking around, and it's like, that guy's in from New Jersey? That guy's in from Delaware? That's Reuben Brown? Like, I'm just like, holy crap. Look at all these people. Like, I knew I invited them. I sent a list. Or we had a list. I sent out invitations, and they said they were coming, and I knew that. But then you walk out, and you're just like, oh, my God. Look at every part of my life out there in the crowd. And it wasn't just friends. And I will specifically mention my good friend Ray Walter, who I knew was coming. Ray's in the chat already today. Ray's been super supportive of all the stuff I do, all this crap that I do. Ray's like a real person. Ray's a judge. Ray's a Supreme Court justice. But he's also just my friend from coming up on 30 years ago, or beyond 30 years. Is it? Yeah, we're past 30. 30-something years ago. I knew Ray was coming. I didn't know Ray was also recruiting a bunch of other dudes that I haven't seen in a while to also come. So I look out, and it's like, oh, it's Ray. Oh, it's this guy. Oh, it's this guy. It's this guy. All that was happening. John Fuller, Dan Cave, who I play trivia with on Tuesdays, and it's free. You just go to the bar and you play, but I can't go anymore because I'm doing this now. They skipped that. They came to my thing. And look, these guys are here. And then also, and this is why I say in no particular order, because I appreciate the support of my family. I appreciate the support of my friends, and then, like, the extended friend universe as provided by friends. But the strangers, and not necessarily strangers, but let's talk about specifically right here in the chat, Nick in Depew. Nick is one of the people who, when the tickets went on sale, was like, I'll be there. I just bought my tickets. I got 2 or 3, whatever he said. And I don't know Nick at all. I've never met Nick. But I met Nick last night. And Nick had a box. He's like, I have a box for you. Do you want the box? I was like, yeah, sure. I don't even think I knew who he was yet. I knew there's a guy named Nick in Depew who listens and watches the show and participates in the chat. And he's always number 1 in the chat. And there he is. Hey, that's me. Right. Yeah, that's you. I knew he existed, but I didn't know what he looked like or anything. And I didn't meet him until after the show was over. And he's like standing in the back. He's like, yeah, I have a box for you. Do you want the box? I was like, yeah. And then he came up. He's like, I'm Nick from Depew. And I was like, all right, I definitely want the box then. It's not like a snake's going to pop out of it or anything poisonous. I don't know. Gwyneth Paltrow's head. I don't know what's in the box. Anything could be in the box. What was in the box, I apologize that I don't have, I have a picture on my phone that I guess I could hold up to the camera. And I haven't found a way to utilize it. I got home. I was processing everything. I went to sleep. I got up. I'm doing the show. So there hasn't been a lot of technical work put into today's show since last night. But if I probably can find the picture in my phone to show you what was in the box that Nick gave me. Because it's awesome, and it's going to be regularly featured on the show. All right, I think this will work. There's two of them. These are lights, custom lights, on-air Riter Radio lights. How cool is that? There's a black one. There's a white one. They connect together. They're LED. They have 5 different levels of brightness. Little buttons I can use, and all of that's going to get hooked up. It just wasn't going to happen in time for today's show. But these are going to, one or both of these are going to be a major part of the show. I'm thinking one of them will be on the screen all the time, and then the other one will be in like the guest chair over there that doesn't get used often, but like when the kids show up, when the kids are home from school. So, only like once, twice a week do they get a snow day in this era. I'm thinking one might go there. But thank you, Nick, for that. I was driving home from the thing, and I called my dad. My parents came to the thing, too. He just wanted to know, how'd it go for you and whatever. And the first thing I told him about was these lights that I got from Nick. He's like, wow. He's like, yeah, I met that guy. That guy was cool and whatever. And he goes, what does he do for a living? And I said, I don't know. He might make lights. I have no idea. I don't know the guy, but super cool. In addition to that, there's another dude, and I'm going to screw up his name, I think, but you'll get the gist of it. There's a guy who's sitting off to the side of the stage, and a couple times when we had little surprise, we had technical issues on the show being produced by me. Wow, that's weird, huh? Regular listeners and viewers from Riter Radio, that Brad put on a thing and then there were problems. The computer wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. Yeah, it happens. Again, product of me doing, I try to do too many things. Like, I want to build it to the point where I can hire people to do things, but we're not there yet. We're just building, so whatever. It's always like, I can handle it. And then it turns out I say I can handle it to too many things, and then one of them goes wrong, and then I'm screwed. Luckily, I had, I didn't even thank the guys who participated in the show. Alphabetically, Greg Bauk was awesome. Tim Graham was awesome. Jeremy White was awesome. So we had those 3 guys on the stage with me. Like I said, the lighting guy that was awesome. And helped me out and handed me at the end of the night a little thumb drive with video files of the whole show. And I came home and kind of watched some of it and was zipping around to kind of look at different parts of it. And then I had to go to sleep. And then I got up and now I'm doing the show. So you're not going to see any of last night's show today, but it all exists on a file and a bunch of files right there. And I don't want to show the whole thing, but I would like to, put together some clips and give you an idea of what you're missing by not attending the show. And I'm going to edit it together because I don't want you to see the parts where, things fell apart. And they never fell apart completely. They would have had I been on stage by myself. But what's cool is to have specifically Greg Bauk there as a stand-up comic. Where I'm like, I need 3 minutes here, Greg. Tell some jokes. And he'd stand up and tell 2 jokes, and then we'd be ready and keep rolling. So, the night went, I wouldn't say 100% smoothly, but I would say 100% great. Like, it was awesome for a first attempt at doing something on this scale, and to have everybody, so many people that have been invaluable to me in my life there, being supportive again. It was just awesome. So I'm people say humbled. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm very pleased. I'm very honored. I feel very happy about life, seeing everyone there and getting this thing off the ground, because I think, it was 70% perfect and 30% fixable. And there's no remainder there. Got a lot of it right. Know exactly what to change for next time. The show next week will be twice as good as the show was this week. And then we'll just go from there. So that's kind of my quick review of how last night went. Oh, I didn't get to. There was one other thing. We've got a phone call coming in that we're going to take. I'm going to tell one more thing before I say hello to Paul Peck. I didn't answer it. I'm going to say one more thing before I say hello to Paul Peck. So he hears me right now, so I can say that. The one other thing, there's a guy off to my right, and he like interacted with me a couple times on the stage as if we knew each other, and I just, he was just cool. I didn't know who he was. After the show, he comes up and tells me, it's like, I've been listening to you since the 90s, and he tells me his first name, and I think it's Arvind. It's something, it's a name I'm not used to, but it's a name I remember. I'm like, you used to email me all the time, right? Your last name starts with R? He's like, yeah, and he said his last name, and that's a long, I would guess Indian, whatever, but like there's a lot of letters in the name, and it's just Arvind something. And that dude showed up like that it's been since WEC at least, which is 15 years ago, whatever, since I've heard from this guy, thought of this guy's name. I've never met him before. We do one night of this, and this guy shows up, and we exchange phone numbers, and I think he's my friend now. Like, it was that kind of night. So, pretty cool. Interrupting my preparation for the show yesterday was the Bills hiring a head coach. And somehow I got wrapped up in a Twitter conversation that Paul Peck started in defending the Joe Brady thing. So
that's my fault.
No, it's fine. Here's the deal. They hired Joe Brady, and I thought, all right, that's fine. Like, I don't have a strong yay or nay opinion on it. And immediately my phone was getting blown up by my friends saying this is horrible. So I had one of them come on to talk about why it was horrible, and I just listened. I wasn't there to argue with him. I was like, why? Why is this perception out there that this is such a terrible idea? And then I finish the show, and then I go on Twitter, and I'm in another fight where you're defending the hiring of Joe Brady. And I don't even think you're doing it over the top. You're just kind of saying, guys, chill out. Like, it might be all right.
Yes.
And so I wanted to have you on.
It.
I want your perspective. So I'm going to let you talk. You tell me your thoughts on how it's going, why they did it, what people are saying, what you're thinking about it. You lay it out, because I don't need to speak for you.
All right. Well, first off, congratulations on the show last night. I'm
Thanks,
disappointed that I couldn't get there, but we will, because I'm excited and I'm really happy that you got this thing up and rolling. So yeah, it was all my fault because, and to be honest with you, Brad, I'm not defending it.
No, I know.
I'm just trying to say, like, first off, no one knows. We don't know. No one ever knows about a coaching hire. Hire a veteran guy, and because he's got experience, and that could flame like Rex Ryan did. Hire a guy with no experience, and it could be great like Liam Cohn and Mike McDonald and so many others.
Or
right?
It could be Greg Williams.
I just thought people were a little over the top about their hatred for it. And I understand it, right? It's an emotional, that's what makes us great sports fans, is we're emotional. But I felt like the only reason people didn't like it was because they knew who he was.
Sure.
Right? And and then they kind of proceeded to beat him up over like, he runs a lot of screenplays. Like, well, okay. Like, so I cited the conversation you and I had about a week ago where you said to me, like, I don't think Joe Brady's very revolutionary as an offensive coach. And I said that could very well be true. I said, but I would argue with you that based on what you gave him to work with this year, that he turned out an offense that was top 5 in the NFL with no wide receivers. Like, you could argue that was a pretty hell of a good revolutionary job, right? So all I did was recite that story, which is why I tagged you in it. And then, of course, people's heads blew off. And, and I generally don't get involved in a lot of back and forth. I'm no Tim Graham on Twitter, nor do I want to be. But I was a little salty last night, so I got into a little bit of back and forth with people. The common response was, he didn't do anything. It was all Josh Allen. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute now. Wait a minute, right? Like, Josh Allen's great, and however great you want to tell me, there's some percentage of his greatness is tied to a coordinator and a coaching staff, right? Josh doesn't scout the opponents, doesn't design the plays, doesn't teach the plays, call the plays, right? Like every great player has great coaches behind him. So that was one of the points I wanted to make. Like, don't tell me that it was all Josh Allen, because that's clearly not true. And I just thought there was an unnecessary hatred for this. If you don't like this decision, that's fine. If you don't like it because you wanted someone else, that's fine. If you don't like it because he was on the staff, that's fine. But I think to all of a sudden think it's the worst move in the world is not fine. Not correct, not fine, because we've seen enough coaching changes over our lives to know the ones that we loved turned out bad, and the ones we hated or had no clue about turned out pretty good. So is that a good summation of it all?
Yeah, I think so. How do you, as just a random sports fan in Western New York, and I don't mean you, but I mean somebody else, how do you say the Brady hire is crap, while knowing full well you would have supported hiring Grant Udinsky, who you never heard of until a week ago? Like, that was the change you needed? Like, no, we right now need Grant Udinsky. We need Clint Kubiak. I didn't know Clint Kubiak existed until 2 weeks ago either. I know the name. I know Gary Kubiak, but that's not Gary Kubiak. It's Clint Kubiak. Like, I don't know. I have no idea. And honestly, my default answer, I had somebody ask me the other day, what do you think is going to happen? You got any inside info? And I was like, no, I have none. But here's where it feels like it's going to me. I thought Brady and Dable comes back. That's as an offensive coordinator, because I feel like Bean in his press conference specifically was referencing, without using his name, Dable, in saying some people are great at a job, but they're not meant to be a head coach because the pressure of that, it's overwhelming. There's way too much other stuff to do, and it's not just football. And I felt like he was saying, we'd love to have Dable back as an offensive coordinator. That's what it sounded like to me. And even yesterday when Brady got announced and I had my buddy on to tell me why this was a terrible hire, I was like, is it a terrible hire if Dable's coming back as the OC? And, 10 minutes after we're off the air, it's like, Dable's not coming back. Like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's out the door. But the reality is, maybe Brady, I don't know anything about him. I mean, I know his connections. I know where he's been, but I don't know what anybody does while they're where they are. And maybe he's a really organized professional dude, and that's why they think he can run the team. And in the moment when I was thinking Dable, like, they think Dable is a genius at offense, but not a head coach. And they think Brady is a manager. And I know they used to kind of be, they were flip-flopped in positions if they even overlapped at all. I think Brady might have been quarterbacks at the time, whatever. But maybe you could flip it, and maybe that makes sense. And people are better in different roles. Like, that was how I was justifying it, saying this might be all right. That's not the case, but I still feel there's so much nuance in all of it. Like, you can't, and back to your point, you can't say, I mean, we all appreciate Josh Allen with the worst coach in the world, with a completely mediocre roster, is going to be fighting for a playoff spot every stinking year that he's in his prime. I think we all agree, like, that guy is a superstar stud. That's who he is. But to your point, we can't just say everything good is Josh, and then everything bad that happens to the Bills is somebody else. He got where he is he got there with help. There's a reason he was not recruited out of high school, and he was eventually he's at Wyoming only, and he's the third quarterback taken in the draft that year. It wasn't he wasn't this when they drafted him. He wasn't a number 1 overall pick. He was a prospect, a very good prospect, physical talent and emotional intelligence and all the stuff that has made everyone fall in love with this guy. But he got from crazy rookie guy to MVP with some help. And you can't say everything good that's ever happened is him and everything bad that's ever happened is someone else. And, I think most of the good stuff is him, and I think we all think that. But to just be like Brady didn't matter, I don't think that's reasonable. To have Josh Allen, and I think it's incredibly open-minded to have Josh Allen and build your team around a running game. Doesn't mean that's what your plan is every year, but you're looking around. You don't like your receiving core. Nobody gets open. All right, what are we going to do with that? So, that ends up kind of pushing back on Bean a little bit. But in the current situation we're in, I don't understand the vitriol and the hatred for the hiring of this guy. And even, being around Bauk and Jeremy White and Tim Graham last night, and we had a lot of time, not on the show, just kind of in the green room or whatever, and just hearing not just their thoughts on it, but their thoughts on other people's thoughts. And it is overwhelmingly negative that Joe Brady is the new head coach of the Bills, and I don't think that makes a ton of sense. My wife is the same way. I tried last night. I'm like, do you want to go downstairs and record a segment about the Bills? She's like, no, with my uninformed. I'm like, I got a camera. You look very pretty. We could do. And she's like, no, I don't want to do it. But I think she is the everyman Bills fan that's just throwing their hands in the air, going, what the hell are they doing? A lot of it, I think, just has to do with one super sloppy press conference. They should keep Pagula locked away and not let him talk, and it would be fine. Bean can handle himself. Pagula cannot. Him trying to help Bean out during the press conference did not go well. I think a lot of this is stemming from that. People are frustrated about McDermott. Yes. They're sad about McDermott. And they're like, well, if we're changing, why aren't we changing everything? And you don't need to change everything because you make the playoffs every year. And this roster as is, and I know it won't be exactly the same, but this roster as is, they're going to be competing for the division, and then they're going to be competing for the Super Bowl. If I'm the head coach, if they hired me, we'd be probably going to the playoffs next year. And I wouldn't hire me. That would be terrible. Brady's far more qualified than I am. So I think they're definitely going to be contending for the playoffs, regardless of what happens in the offseason, as long as Josh shows up. So I don't know. I'm with you. I agree. I don't want you to apologize for looping me into the conversation. I just wanted to have another like-minded individual on the show to have this conversation.
Yeah, you had a lot going on yesterday, so I apologize for adding that to your list. So a couple of quick points. I don't think Dable would have taken a job where he worked for a guy who worked for him, right? It's the NFL. Dable's been an OC before. He had opportunities to be an OC. I don't think he's coming back to a place that he's been let go of once to go work for a guy that was his quarterback coach, right? So I don't think that. I think you said it accurately, like you really wanted to hire a Grant Udinski that nobody knows anything about when you essentially had the equivalent of him who already has a relationship with your most important player. Like, to me, I got to think the clincher was Joe Brady knows Josh Allen. Josh Allen knows Joe Brady. And that's a positive in my mind. I thought Jeremy White brought up a great point on his show this morning is, the PR spin. Oh, this guy's from the McVay tree and he's from the Shanahan tree, right? Well, I think, Joe Brady, we've all conveniently forgot that he had a role in making Joe Burrow one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in college football, but that was a while ago, right? And at that point, he was the red hot Sean McVay, Shanahan-y kind of guy back then, right? So, but time and the fact that he's already been here has impacted that a little bit. I thought it just makes people think differently, right? Again, if you were going to hire a hotshot young 30-something offensive coordinator genius, which it appeared as though those were the guys they generally interviewed, if they're all relatively the same, why are you not hiring the guy that you already know that already has a relationship with Josh Allen? And I thought that made some sense. I also suspect, with no proof whatsoever, that maybe the Raiders were about to hire Joe Brady or one of the other teams that, or supposedly he was in line to become the Ravens offensive coordinator. And that in itself tells me that, okay, if the Ravens think you're good enough to want to be on your staff and work with Lamar Jackson, then that must mean smart people think you're pretty good, right? So I wonder if some of those factors came into play where the Bills looked at each other and said, we either hire this guy or we're going to lose him to a competitor to be the head coach. Like, if we already think he's a good enough head coach, why would we not do that with him here? So, again, and these are all sort of ambiguous points, right? That's both the frustration and the excitement of this kind of thing is, well, he was good at with Joe Burrow. That means he's going to be good as a head coach. No. He wasn't so good this year. That means he's going to be bad at head coach. Well, no, right? You don't know. You look at the credentials and you have to project, and that's essentially what the Bills did. To your final point, I think based on the press conference, Bills fans thought you could have hired Vince Lombardi and they would have been pissed off about it because of the mood that was set.
Yeah. I think there's one head coaching hire that's ever happened in my lifetime where I was positive it was the right idea. And that was when Lance Leipold was hired at UB. Because if you're picking a head coach in the NFL right now, you're either picking someone who has never done the job before. That's Brady. Someone who has been fired from his last job because he had the job and didn't do well enough in the mind of the owner or the GM or something. Or you're pulling somebody who's been retired and doing broadcasting for a while, which is, Belichick's a little different, but, it's Belichick or it's John Gruden or it's Bill Cowher. So those are your three buckets you get to pull from. Old did it, retired on his own terms, maybe he feels like doing it again, is one. Did it, got fired, and is just hanging out and available is the other one. And then has never done it before. So you got to pick from one of those three. The only one, like the Leipold thing, I thought was so cool because he was uber successful at running a college football program, just hadn't bumped it up to the level of Division I. Like, well,
and
it seems right. Come on in.
The criticism was he did it down there, but Division I's different, right? That was the criticism of the Lance hire at the time.
Yeah. So I will say this, I guess, if you wanted to hire Kurt Cignetti, that would be a different bucket too. Like if you like, oh my God, unbelievable, crazy success at the college level and bring him up. So that's it. But you got to choose from those four groups: washed up, fired, never done it, or college. Those you had to pick from there. So I don't know, pick somebody and see how it goes. And you still have Josh. So I don't know. They're gonna rework the roster. That obviously they were gonna do that if McDermott was still here. They were still gonna bring in 3 new receivers somehow. 2 in the draft, 1 in free agency, or vice versa, or a trade, or they were gonna do that. They've got to figure out what's going on free agent wise on the offensive line. I don't know financially if they can afford to keep everyone. We'll see. But generally speaking, you've got a team that, good God, man, a week and 3 days ago, we were all just mad that they weren't in the AFC Championship game and thought the league took it from us. So it's not like they're this dumpster fire. They're a good team that's trying to switch things a little bit. And I don't think you need to drastically, like, we got a clean house. Like, no, you don't. You win every year. You go to the playoffs every year. You win the division most years. You don't need to clean house. Something's got to change. I get that. Like, if I could just take what Pagula said at face value, I walk into that locker room and I'm like, damn it, this keeps happening. I got to do something. And I agree with that. And if McDermott's the answer to that, then that's fine to me. But let's not pretend that this is a complete mess of a football team. This is a really good team that's going to be in the conversation for the Super Bowl, regardless of what happens this offseason. They're going to be in the conversation for the Super Bowl before the season starts and throughout the season, and then in the playoffs, probably. So,
well, you're going to have a new defensive coordinator, and that's a pretty critical hire for Joe Brady. So you're going to have you might have a completely different approach on defense, or at the very least, a slightly different approach. You have a different head coach who wants different things. So it's going to be different, even if it's the same guy. I'll tell you what might be interesting tomorrow, Brad. And, knowing, like, this is a question Tim Graham, because he's a good reporter, is going to ask, tied to the whole Keon Coleman debacle. if Terry Pagula said it wasn't Bean's call and then eventually said it wasn't McDermott's call, then doesn't that mean it was Joe Brady's call? But I understand why it might have been Joe Brady's call, because Joe Brady might have said, you know what, we've got good smaller slot receivers. I want a big, tall, physical one, right? Yep. And that's probably what led to the drafting of Keon Coleman. Good, bad, right, wrong. Don't tell me what he is now. Tell me what he was then when you made this decision. But that probably was Joe Brady who he was referring to. So that'll be an interesting question that he'll get asked tomorrow by someone, and I'll be curious to hear what his answer. But again, there's no conspiracy theories here. I would assume the conversation was maybe Xavier Worthy was slightly rated higher by the scouting staff, but decisions get made in the draft when they fit what the coaches want to do, and I suspect the coaches wanted a bigger receiver at the time.
I wanted one too. I remember that, thinking I wanted nothing to do with Xavier Worthy, and them trading out of that spot and the Chiefs taking him did not hurt me at all. It sucked that I think he scored he had a long touchdown on his first play in the NFL, and he might have had 2 touchdowns in that game, and he kind of flashed real quickly. He hasn't been a ton of super effective since, and I didn't think that fit. I always, when I'm looking at wide receivers, I'm always trying to find Eric Moulds. I know they didn't make the playoffs with him very much, but that guy was prototypical wide receiver 1, and I'm always looking for that guy. And Xavier Worthy's not that guy. He's a fun toy, but he's Roscoe Parrish to me. And I'm looking for Moulds, I'm looking for, obviously, T.O. I'm looking for big, Justin Jefferson. I'm looking for big, strong, physical. That's my guy. And Xavier Worthy wasn't that. So I actually completely agreed with the concept of doing what they did. No, I haven't loved Keon Coleman, and no one has over the first couple of years here. But I get it. I get why they did it, and I would do it again this year. I would look for a better version of him, to improve this passing game. That's something.
Sure.
And I don't know, man.
I think not to drift too far off the topic here. Everybody is always looking for that kind of guy, right? The problem is there aren't that many of them,
right? And
teams take big swings at these big, tall, physical guys. And I would suspect, again, with no statistical point to prove it, just my eye test, there's a lot bigger miss rate on those guys when they get to the NFL, because they're bigger and physical and they just push people around in college and put up big numbers and look great, where in the NFL it's more about route running and precision and things like that. So I think teams take swings at guys like that more often, hoping to find that guy.
Yeah.
And sometimes those are big swings and misses, because it's a harder transition for a guy who is a good receiver because he's bigger, physical, and stronger, as opposed to a guy who might be a little more precise, faster, and a better route runner.
Right.
So,
well, that's how Blaine Gabbert gets drafted. I know we're talking about a different position. Blaine Gabbert gets drafted and then scares me off of Josh Allen, scares all of us off of Josh Allen. It's like, oh, yeah, he's big, he's physical, he's got these tools. And then he comes in and he's like, oh, and he's also this person. His brain, Josh Allen's brain is his biggest strength. He's got all the other stuff too, but we've seen physical dudes like that can't play. And I know I'm talking about 2 different positions, but same type of thing. The measurables, we could take this to the Dolak conversation. How is Sean Dolak not drafted into the NFL? He's on a team, of course. He's making a difference, of course, but physically he wasn't the exact right size, so they didn't take him. So we're twisting the whole thing around, but yes, can you play? Can you play is something that I'm looking for, as opposed to how tall and how strong.
Yeah, and I guess to wrap this up, because I don't want to tie you up here too long, I would just tell Bills fans, give this guy a chance. Right? No one is giving him I understand that you're angry and you're frustrated. And again, I don't quite understand all of a sudden we hated McDermott, couldn't wait to get him out of town, and now we think firing him is the worst decision that's ever been made. I don't get that. But give Joe Brady a chance. He's a smart guy. He's one of the smarter offensive guys who has proven to his ability to take Josh Allen and turn him and Buffalo's offense into a very productive unit. So he's not a dummy, right? So let's give this guy a chance and see what can happen. There's going to be enough new that those people that wanted new are going to be satisfied, but enough of what worked before carried over to make you feel like you didn't blow this thing up to go back to a 4-win team. So when your emotions calm down in all of this, and again, you don't have to love it, you don't have to hate it. I just think you got to give this guy a chance and see what shakes out. Because to be very honest with you, there's about 2 more years left in this window, and Brandon Beane's probably got 2 more years left to. Now that you're in charge, things better go right. And Josh is 30 years old, and they're they've got cap issues. Like these windows don't stay open in the NFL forever, and you're already, I think, pushing the edge of what a window can be for a team to be successful. So there's got to be results here quick, or we're going to have the same conversation 2 years from now in 2028.
Part of me agrees with you. Part of me says that Josh is the ultimate window stopper. For as long as he is Josh, there's a chance. So you just have to keep your head above water. And I think we would agree on, like, there's something.
But will he be at 33 years old, Brad?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. I'm not ready to say it's a 2-year window. It might be a 6-year.
He'll change the way he plays because he's a smart guy, and I think that will help him. Like, at some point, he's going to have to realize, I can't be the physical guy that I was because I can't do it as well anymore. I can't take the risk of injury anymore. But he'll adapt. He'll adapt. But the Josh that we know now, who plays the way he plays now, logic tells you that can't go forever.
Maybe it's me being 51, but 30 doesn't sound old to me. I don't know. It used to. It doesn't anymore. So, all right. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate you coming on. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much for your contribution, and thanks for getting me caught up in the Twitter argument. I appreciate it.
I owe you one on that. No, it was
good. It was good. You paid me back. You came on the show to talk about it. It's perfect. All right. Thanks, Paul.
All right, Brad, thanks.
All right, there's our senior bowling correspondent, Paul Peck. He talks about football more often than he talks about bowling, but he needed a title, so we gave him a title. I'm going to take a time out and be right back. It's episode 253 of Riter Radio. It's brought to you by Brian Janik at thefinancialguys.com. And then I'll also mention that I've got 2 sponsors on the trivia show, Brain Vault, which is separate from Riter Radio, but we're going to mention them too. The Financial Guys, as an overall unit, are a part of that, and so is Buffalo Trim, that made me look like this. I'll be honest, I watched last night when I got home, and again this morning, some video from Brain Vault last night, and I look good. Like, again, it's for me. I don't look good compared to people. I look good compared to how I looked, and that is very much because of Buffalo Trim cleaning me up. 6 locations in Western New York. Once you stop in there, you won't go anywhere else. It's true. True story. It's a tagline, but it makes sense because it's true. And I paraphrase because it's not even exactly that, but it's like that. Like, go there and you won't go anywhere else. I got a bunch of details on Financial Guys, too, that I should share with you at some point. But that won't be right now because I'm going to play a song, take a break, come back, and continue with episode 253 of Riter Radio. If anybody who went to Brain Vault would like to call into the show to talk about Brain Vault, and you can be critical if you'd like, because I know it wasn't perfect. There were technical snags and whatever. But overall, I think it was awesome. And I think it's going to be, like, I already picture the next show and how good that's going to be. This is what I do. I build stuff. Look at what this show looks like compared to what this show looked like a month ago or 3 months ago. And the progress we're making on that. Now imagine that on a stage with professional lights and professional sound and beer and people hanging out having fun. We're on to something here, man. If anybody who was there would like to call in and talk about it, and you're in the chat, just put it in the chat, and we'll work it out while I play a couple songs. But I would like to talk about Brain Vault. I could call John Fuller. I don't know if he's available. He was there. Ray was there. Nick was there. Let me know in the chat while we play songs. Stick around. Riter Radio 253. Riter Radio episode 253 continues. I've got all the on-stage brain vault questions sitting here in front of me. I don't know that I'll get to them. If I run out of stuff, that's there. I just opened Google News for the first time today. Reminded me that I should mention the Belichick thing. Bill Belichick did not get into the Hall of Fame on his first, first crack at it. First ballot. He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's some sense that it was Bill Polian fighting against him, saying that he should not be first ballot because of Spygate, Deflategate. But then he came out and said it wasn't him, but he needed 40 of 50 votes to get in and didn't get 40. So it's not going to be about a person. Even if there's one person who is pushing for it, it's like, if it needed to be unanimous, if this is a jury and there's one guy that's holding out, then we can be like, what's up with that guy? But if you needed 11 people had to vote against it, and I don't know, he's going to get in. But people went nuts about it last night. This was all going on either as I was heading to, or hosting Brain Vault at the Kaz. So I got all this information. It's a pretty entertaining green room, by the way. First of all, let me say this. If you ever get offered an opportunity to have a green room, do it. Like, I intentionally wore different clothes than I was going to wear on the stage just because I knew there was a green room. And I could go in and hang stuff up and hang out for an hour and then put the stuff on right before going on stage. Like, there's a shower in there. Like, I don't know that I'm ever going to use it, but I could. If I get all sweaty hosting a trivia show at a music venue, and then I have to go somewhere else at 9 o'clock at night on a Tuesday and need to be super clean, I could take a shower there. But it's awesome. There's a fireplace. There's one of those mirrors with the light around it. You can touch and make the light brighter. There's a QR code. You can order food, and they just bring it down to you. Or beer, which was much more popular. With the panel. Not with me. I didn't have anything. I had water. I had one bottle of water the whole time. I felt different yesterday. I was just wired. I'm still kind of that way. I slept for a while, and I'm still kind of flying high off of that. And I cannot pretend it went perfectly, because it did not. I had software issues. Surprise, Riter Radio listeners. But, the software didn't work exactly as I expected it to, and that put me in a tizzy. But that's why we had the panel there to help fill it. I think people generally had a good time. I think people generally got a sense of what it can be and will be. And I've got very high hopes for what we're doing with Brain Vault. It is certainly the right venue for it. It's absolutely perfect. It's shot beautifully. Like, it looks like a TV show, and it's on me to turn it into one. Like, I have a lot of ideas. You know who else had a lot of ideas is Ray Walter, who is a semi-frequent guest of the show and is calling in momentarily, because right before the break I said, if anybody was there and wants to talk about it, call me. And he said, I'll call. So he said, give me a few minutes. But at some point, the phone's going to ring. It's going to be Ray. I should turn on the notifications on my phone because they're always silent. And if I actually turn it on in that way, we'll hear Ray calling. We go ringtone on, and if I turn the volume up here, when Ray calls, it will not anymore rely on me seeing it. He's calling right now. See, listen, you can hear it, I think. That's the sound of Ray Walter calling. Perfect. I just turned the volume on the thing so we could hear when you called. And as soon as I did it, it started ringing. It's Ray Walter, the great Ray Walter, the honorable.
How's that for timing?
The honorable and great Ray Walter. That's great, Ray. You nailed it. It's awesome. I want to talk to you about, because you were there last night, and you saw, I think you saw what it can be. And you gave me a lengthy list of, like, producer notes, not criticisms, just like, I think this should happen. And I read them all and went, yep, I think I agree with that. And then I watched back a portion of the show because I got the video version of it, and I could not agree with you more on a lot of your suggestions. So first, let's talk about what went right, and then we'll talk about how much better it can be.
All right. It was great. Venue was great. Panel was great. You were great. Everything was, it was fun. It was a cool experience. It was kind of like we're on this plane building it together as we're flying through the air.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And I thought that the technology was good, like the whole way I wasn't sure how the trivia thing was going to work. I've never done it like that before.
Yeah.
And that worked out great. And
when it worked, and when it didn't, that was a problem. But I got that under control. Yep.
Yeah, but you luckily had Bauk there to do some comedy, which was perfect. And then I just thought that your personality came through, and it was very much like being on a live version of the show.
Yeah.
So it was all around. I give it 5 stars.
I liked it better watching it back than I liked it while I was doing it, because I'm so up in my head as I'm doing it. But as it turns out, as you know, from doing just radio and doing this kind of stuff, and I've done some TV, from doing all of it, my mouth and my brain separate from each other. So my mouth still does the stuff that I wanted to do while my brain is panicking about the next thing that's going to happen. And I needed to see the video of it to see that it translated, but it did. And I'm going to be honest, Ray, I don't do a lot of this, but I look good. Like the Buffalo trim thing worked. I look infinitely better than I did a week and a half ago. And just throwing on a sport coat and some decent pants, suddenly I looked like I belonged on a stage, which I couldn't believe.
Or any pants. I mean, really.
It's nice to have any pants, really, yeah. But
yeah,
not jeans, not sweatpants. Yeah.
You look great, and I could tell Carol had a certain glow about her, so I think that she really liked the way you looked too. And it was really good, really good.
So can I ask you, did you recruit all of our other friends? Like there were guys that I haven't seen in a way. Eric Benson, who ended up on stage, by the way.
Hilarious.
I assume that was your doing, because I knew you were coming, but all of a sudden I look out in the crowd, and I said earlier on the show, it reminded me of my wedding. You come out from the back of the church into the thing, and you look, and you're like, oh my God, that guy's here. He lives in Albany, and he lives in Delaware, and he lives in North Carolina, and he lives, and it's like, and that's Reuben Brown. Like, I'm looking out, like, oh my God, look at my whole life in front of me. And there's like, I had a guy come up to me, like, I've been listening to you since the 90s. I'm like, what? And then I had this other guy, Nick, who's in the chat, who gave me these Riter Radio signs that will be on display on the show in the near future, but I didn't get around to it yet. But like, I couldn't believe the my entire life was, my parents were there, my wife was there, my kids were there, I had aunts and uncles and friends from high school and friends from college and listener. It was just, it felt great to me, and that's with what is I think a relatively small crowd, and what I think will probably be the smallest crowd we ever have for the show. I thought it felt like a community, and like you said, like building something together. It all just felt right.
Yeah, no, and then kudos to Nick. That was a very cool gesture. I wish I'd had a chance to meet him, but we had to get out of there. I had to get up early this morning, go to work.
I understand.
But I think that was certainly part of the charm, was just having what seemed like friends, family, members of the Ride or Die pack here. So Brad pack. So it was really a nice feel. And I tell you, you said, like you talked about the crowd. I was worried that it was going to be this cavernous theater type of place, but no, it was intimate, and however many people were there, it seemed like a great crowd. I mean, we were all like right on top of one another.
Yeah.
So it was really cool.
Yeah, you wouldn't. I guess that's probably right. Even looking out from the stage, you wouldn't know the difference. There's a balcony that we didn't use, or mezzanine, or whatever they call it. But even if that's there, like, I don't know how much of that I'll see. Like, it would be louder, I guess, when people cheer, when people are clapping, when people are laughing, it would be louder. But like, from the look of it, I think it looked awesome. It felt awesome. Being on the stage and looking out at it is a whole different vibe from being on the floor and looking up at it. And I don't know. It just, I've never done anything like that before. No one has. I mean, I made it up. So
yeah,
it just, I don't know. I'm basking in the afterglow of an imperfect but certainly improvable first night of it, and I'm very optimistic and super enthusiastic about the response that we got. And once, honestly, I think once I take this massive hunk of video that I have, I've got 7 different cameras shooting the whole show, and turn that into something to promote next week's show and the one after that, I think it just grows from there. What are your you want to lay out any criticisms or anything that you think should change moving forward? Because like you said, we're building it together.
Yeah, I don't know that they're criticisms. I mean, I'd like to see the show aspect featured more than the trivia part was great, but I think that engaging the panel more would be very, very helpful. You had a great panel. I mean, obviously Bauk was, standing up and
right,
giving jokes, and for, those of us who have listened to Greg on the radio forever, when he was on GR,
yeah,
it was, you knew he was going to get up there and be funny. Tim Graham, surprisingly hilarious, really, really great. And everybody knows Jared, but it would have been cool to have a little more interaction. And my favorite little note that I gave you was making the panelists actually write their answers down rather than use the phone and because I think you could get some hilarious answers from them doing that.
I'm 100% in on that, because honestly, watching the video back, it looks like a TV show, except when 3 people are looking down at their phones, and then it doesn't. So I need those people looking out, and them writing an answer on a card and holding it up is absolutely the move for next week. I don't know that I'll always have 3 people on the panel. I intend to always have 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, but for sure, like, thinking about it, I had Jeremy White, who's an incredible communicator, and everybody knows, on the stage with me for 2 hours, and I don't think I ever asked him a question, which is crazy. But in the moment, I'm just so caught up in what I'm doing. But that's what this was for. We had to do it once to figure out how to do it the next time. And I think that note that you gave me on that is 100% correct and will be implemented immediately. There was no intention for them to play along on their phones. I thought they would just sit there. But then I needed Jeremy to have his phone going so I could see what was happening on phones because of the technology. So, like, there's a million little things that play into that. But you're totally right that those guys should be playing along in a different way to make it more, participatory. And also, it is my intention to allow for people in the crowd. Like, you're sitting there. This might be the only time you're ever in a room with Tim Graham, and you've had something you wanted to ask him for 10 years.
Right.
I should allow that. So we've got these people, there's access to them. I think back to Nick, who's in the chat, who gave me the cool gift. He said in the chat yesterday, if I bring Greg Bauk's book, do you think he'll sign it? I was like, yeah, you have the opportunity to interact with whoever's here. And, these are my friends, and most of the people that come on the stage are going to be my friends, but some of them are going to be pretty famous people. I got a lot of famous friends.
Sure.
People want to interact with them. So if you've got a question for Jer, you should be able to ask that at some point. So I've got to work it out. It didn't go, I shouldn't say at all like I planned, but like the timing of it, I was supposed to hit the music 12 minutes before, hit the stage at 7 o'clock. We're going to have an intermission from 7:55 to 8:05. None of that happened. But we're working on it. Like there were just too many technical things that had to be worked out to get it exactly to be in like just the flow that I'm going for. So we got most of it right, but I think that's kind of the adjustment that's going to be made going forward.
Yeah, and I think having somebody like be the MC, introduce you onto the stage, you being more of the host than the guy that's the technical part of things. Although I know you have to run the trivia and everything, but I think you just need to be, more of a host type of personality.
Yeah.
And then have somebody out on the floor asking questions, walking a microphone around, helping people, work through their phone issues because they don't know how to use a QR code.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. That would be great.
All right. I'm on it. Would you like to talk about the Bills hiring Joe Brady as their head coach?
So my initial gut reaction was repulsion. But then, I'm trying to be optimistic, and like every Bills fan in August, I'm trying to be positive. And I just hope that it was McDermott and his philosophy, not necessarily he was interfering with play calling. I'm not suggesting that, but his general philosophy was holding Joe Brady back. And if that's the case, then I think we're going to see, a different team come out in September than we've seen the last few years. And, that's my optimistic take on it. And we'll see what happens. And the one thing I'm glad we're going with an offensive guy as a head coach, because then you don't have to worry about changing over the offense every time you get a new coach in there.
Right.
And so if he's locked in for the next 5 years and he has success, and we can get a good defensive coordinator in here, and Jim Leonard, if that's who it's going to be, that sounds like a good idea, as far as I can tell. And we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm going to try to be positive, but if you were looking for a drastic change, this certainly isn't it.
Right. But I don't know that I am, because they always go to the playoffs and they're always in contention. And a week and a half ago, we thought they got screwed and should be going to the AFC Championship game. And we all thought they'd beat New England. And then we'd be sitting here waiting for a Super Bowl. And like, that's how close they are. So how drastic do I want to change things? Or how drastically do I want to change things? I don't know that it's a ton. My initial reaction was, all right, sure. And then I go online and the world's on fire, as if they just hired Satan to be their head coach, and I don't think it's that. So I don't know. I'm in I have more of a positive than negative feeling about Brady. Is he ready to be a head coach? I don't know, but I would assume that if you're hired, the last guy you hired was McDermott, and I think you did so because he was organized. And I would assume that Joe Brady has that working for him as well. It's not just, we like him. I think it's, structurally, what can you do to keep, because the one thing that you're losing with McDermott is the overall sort of, the way they talked about him, he's the same guy every day. You walk in, he's never going to be nuts. The structure of all of it is what was sorely lacking during, obviously, like Rex Ryan. But even before that, you got coaches that are resigning. Two of them, like I've never heard of. I can't name 3 coaches who have quit in the NFL. The Bills, 2 out of 3 quit with Malarkey and Marrone. So he solved something.
It's the opposite of what Daboll brought to the Giants. Like, it was chaos down there from everything that you've heard. Right. So, the other thing is, like, all of a sudden, the post-firing of McDermott glow-up that he's getting is insane. I mean, I've wanted this guy fired since 13 seconds. I mean, he wasn't getting us over the top. And you can say what you want about Bean, but you tell me that our team, the Buffalo Bills, has less talent on it than the New England Patriots? Nonsense. We have more talent on our team than the Patriots do. And you can't convince me otherwise. And there's no reason that we shouldn't be in the Super Bowl this year or in some previous years. And the guy just couldn't get us over the top. And eventually that voice gets stale and you have to move on. And we've seen it 100 times before where teams move on from their head coach and now they go into the Super Bowl or the NBA Finals or wherever because there's a new voice in them.
Yeah, Stanley Cup, World Series, it happens everywhere. The this is the first year for McDonald in Seattle, right? Or is it his second? Second. Okay. But, there's something to be said for something fresh happening. This reminded me a little bit of when the Sabres fired Lindy Ruff, or even when UB fired Reggie Witherspoon, where it's like,
right.
Maybe Witherspoon's the better comparison, because they were always good, but they were never there. They were never in it. I loved Reggie, and I liked talking to him, and he was the program to me, and I really believed in him, but it was like, I'm believing in B+, and I want to win, and I need A, and I need something to change, and even if the next guy isn't as good a coach as Reggie is, and even if I don't like him as much, if you change the tune a little bit, and that bumps you up to A for 5 minutes from B+, I'll take it. So
the only way that comparison fails is I don't think Bobby Hurley compares to Joe Brady as far as the excitement level.
Yeah, there's a little difference.
That we all felt.
This was more a conversation to be had for the week after he was fired, because I went from, I can't believe they fired Reggie, to, wait, I get to meet Bobby Hurley now? Like, this is unbelievable. That was different. And, the excitement isn't there with a guy who's been on the sidelines for a couple of years, or in the press box or whatever. But the world is not ending. It's still the same team. And let me throw this one at you, and then I'll let you go. If the Bills just came back with Bean as the general manager and McDermott as the coach and Josh Allen as the quarterback, how would you, if you're like a national reporter and you got to pick your Super Bowl favorites, how would you pick the Bills next year? Like, no, now I think it's going to happen. Like, you couldn't justify that, barring some massive, offseason, some trade, something crazy happening. If it's just the Bills are going to run it back, how could you believe in that? And even though I think it would have a chance, like,
sure,
I would, if we ran back this season, I think the Bills could go to the Super Bowl again. I want some injuries to be fixed. I want a couple plays to be different. I want a couple calls to be different. But how could you be enthusiastic and say, no, this is the year? So Pagula deciding we have to change something is not crazy to me at all.
No,
and
not at all.
You don't need to do a massive change, because you just need to tweak something. And I don't know. I get where tweaking might be the better move than massive overhaul.
Yeah, in a league where John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin are no longer, with their original teams, I mean, you can't justify keeping Sean McDermott when he hasn't got you to the Super Bowl. You can't. You have to make a change. You have to move on. And just like Philadelphia did when they got rid of, the Chiefs coach, Andy Reid. And then Andy Reid goes and wins a Super Bowl.
He's great.
I mean, does Philadelphia regret getting rid of Andy Reid? No, they did the right thing for them at the time.
Right. They both won Super Bowls.
Yeah, and McDermott might go on and coach somewhere else and win a Super Bowl within his first 2 or 3 years, and that's great, good for him. But so might we.
Right. Perfect. Ray, thanks so much for everything. Thanks for coming out last night. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for moving to Buffalo.
All
right,
for sure.
Everything. All right, man. See ya.
Talk to you soon.
The great Ray Walter, the Honorable Ray Walter, New York State Supreme Court Justice Ray Walter, kind enough to come out to the show last night and then come on the show today. All right. Looking at other stuff, we got 11:37. I don't need a break. All right. Things that are still happening, because there is a world outside of Riter Radio and Brain Vault. All right. Bill Belichick did not get in the Hall of Fame. We'll close that. There was another. The Sabres. So the Sabres played the Leafs last night, and I was doing a show. I was on a stage, but luckily I had sports guys hanging out on the stage with me. So Bouk kept updating us on what was going on in the Sabres game. And the first I heard, it was the Sabres were up 3-2. Then it was 3-3. Then it was 4-3. And then no updates after that. And then I got in the car on the way home, and I had the post-game show on, but I caught a part where it sounded like they probably won. Like, I don't remember which player was talking, but it was an interview. Paul Hamilton's interviewing somebody in the locker room, and it sounded positive, but I only caught a quick little part, and then my phone rang, and so I missed it. So then I came home, and then I was still talking about the trivia show with my wife and my kids, and I was eating pizza, which was great. which I'm going to eat again as soon as this is done because it was delicious. And I had no idea, so I had to look up, like, hey, how'd the Sabres do last night? 7-4 win. Dahlin, hat trick, 5 points. Okay. I haven't checked the standings, but it seems like things are still good. The streak ended, and I no longer know, like, it was, 14 out of 16 and 15 out of 17. I no longer know that stretch, but I think it's worth looking into. So, if you already know, you probably do. Just bear with me. This will be fun to hear me in real time find out how the Sabres are doing. All right, it says third in Atlantic Division. That's good. That seems good. Dahlin scores first NHL hat trick to lead Sabres to 7-4 win over Maple Leafs. They've won 4 in a row. So working backwards, win 4, lose 2. That's 4 out of 6. Win 2 is 6 out of 8. Lose 1 is 6 out of 9. Win 3 is 9 of 12. Lose 1 is 9 of 13. 10 wins. 19 of 23. So they've lost 4 of their last 23 games. Yeah, that's right. Wow. All right, doing it the right way. Win 10, lose 1. Win 3, lose 1. Win 2, lose 2. Win 4. Let's see what the standings look like. They've got to be good. Because even with the 10-game win streak they needed to get themselves back into it, then they lost a game. Like, oh, they're out of it again. But they not right now. I mean, they're 30, 17, and 5. That's legit. All right, wild card standings. Oh, they're not even wild card right now. That's right. Top 3 in the division make it. They're not even fighting with the wild card teams. They're 5 points out of first in the conference. The 2 wild card teams are tied with them, and they're both in the division. So it's Tampa on top, Red Wings in the Atlantic. Tampa, Detroit, and then the Sabres, Canadiens, and Bruins all have 65 points. Sabres with a game in hand on Montreal, 2 games in hand on Boston. And then the next non-playoff spot, the Sabres are 6 points into the playoffs. Florida's first team out right now with 59. Sabres are at 65. They're closer to first than they are to out of the playoffs. And this might not be news to anyone but me. But I legit just don't pay attention until it matters, and it's starting to matter. They're 16-6-3 at home. Congratulations to the people who have been spending infinite money on attending these unwatchable games for like 12 or 13 years. That they've witnessed 16 wins and 3 overtime losses in 28 home games. That's awesome. I did the math wrong. 25 home games. 16-6-3. That's cool. They're plus 20 in goal differential. They've won 4 in a row, which, let's see if that's the longest streak in the league right now. Yep, they're back to having the longest winning streak in the league again. Tied with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's also won 4. And they're at 63 points with a game in hand on the Sabres, but they don't matter because they're in a different division. And we're not talking about wild card anymore because the top 3 teams, they changed the playoff format. This is how bad the Sabres have been. They changed the playoff format when they split it. They made it 2 divisions. I've never learned what the playoff format is. Like when I saw they were 3rd in the division, I thought, ooh, is that like an automatic spot? And yeah, it is. But I've never learned it. I've never had to. But the way it works now, the top 3 teams from each division make it, and then everyone else competes for 2 wild card spots, and that still gets you 8. So the same number of teams make it, but they just rearrange things. And legit, like, I have not had to know. This has been going on for easily 5 years, maybe more, this format of how you make the playoffs. But it has been completely off my radar because it has not mattered. The only thing they've been trying to do is grab a wild card spot down at the bottom. And I haven't had to think about the division thing. So seeing it now, just seeing them third. Let's see. Overall, they would be they'd be fifth overall in the conference right now. Yeah. Tampa and Carolina are division leaders at 70 and 69 points. Detroit's got 69. And the Sabres, they'd be fourth. Wow. Long way to go, but something's going on. Look at that. They made a tweak over there. You know what came up with Ray? And I feel like I've had this thought in passing, but I don't know that I've said it on the show, so I'll say it now. He said, like, in a world where Jim Harbaugh's not coaching his team anymore, he's not with the Ravens, and Mike Tomlin's not coaching the Steelers, how do you come back with McDermott? And it occurred to me there, I wonder if, I might have said Jim when I meant John Harbaugh, I apologize. I wonder if the firing of John Harbaugh was the moment that Terry Pegula thought, oh, we can do that? Never occurred to me. But if the Ravens can fire Harbaugh, the Bills can fire McDermott. And I wonder if in that, because I did say this on the show, that was the first moment I thought of it. Once Harbaugh was out, and it wasn't so much, oh, they can do that. It was, I can get that guy. And I feel like if the Bills lost their first playoff game, if they lost to Jacksonville, McDermott would have been fired after that. Because I don't for a second buy the part about, oh, I decided after the Denver game that he's got to go or something's got to change. But I just don't think that. I think it was decided, all right, barring a Super Bowl win or maybe a Super Bowl appearance, something's got to change, and that's what's going to change. And we're doing it right after he loses. But after they lose, Sean McDermott can't have a job anymore. That was the decision that was made, I believe, for sure, before the loss to Denver, despite what Pegula said at the press conference. It makes no sense. It makes no logical sense that that's when he came up with it. But in the moment, I said, when Harbaugh got fired, I was like, if he's available, then I can move on from McDermott right now because I think you can get him. And he even waited through the weekend. It's like, I'm not doing interviews yet. He might have been thinking the same thing. There might have been conversations. I have no idea. But just as Ray was talking, it occurred to me that I think Pegula probably had the same reaction to Harbaugh being fired as I did. It's like, oh, I can do that? I should do that if things don't go perfectly over the course of the next month. And they did. And now Joe Brady's in, and I'm all right with it. That's all. I'm all right with it. I'm not, damn it, that's the move they had to make. This is perfect. This will propel them to Super Bowl stardom. It's not that. It's just, it's fine. It's fine. If they didn't fire McDermott, I wouldn't be jumping up and down saying they need to fire McDermott either. And then once he's gone, I'm not like, I demand massive change. I need somebody I don't know anything about to take over this team. I didn't need that either. So, despite the overwhelming anger about this dude being hired, promoted, if you will, including from my wife, who won't come on the show, people are pissed, and I'm not. But I'm also not here to argue with the people who are mad, aside from the entire conversation I had with Paul Peck, where it's like, I don't know, seems all right. Everything is not like way over here, way over there. There's nuance in everything, and we ignore that as a society in every conversation. And, obviously, like, political stuff is that way right now, where you're either here or you're here. And it's like, not really. I'm here. I'm right here. I'm right here. I think what you said over there is stupid. I think what you're saying over there is stupid. I'm just hanging out here. That's extreme. That's extreme. I'm not extreme. I'm just hanging out in reality. And I don't feel the need to always... Maybe it makes me a crappy radio host. I don't know. Because I don't have this, like, screaming, jumping up and down, those people are stupid kind of opinion, usually. It takes a lot for me to get there. Maybe Maybe that's bad for, what I do. But I believe in like nuance and gray versus black and white. I want to play a song and then come back and we'll wrap things up. It's Riter Radio, episode 253. Thank you for being a part of it. Thanks to our sponsor, Brian Janik at thefinancialguys.com. And thanks to our Brain Vault sponsors, also the Financial Guys overall. And Buffalo Trim that makes me look. I am impressed. Every time I look, right there is where I am on my screen. So there's the camera. Over here is a preview of the next scene. And then over here is me. Right there is me. And every time, like, I was just doing all that stuff without that screen on. And then once I was done talking about the Sabre stuff, I opened it back up. I couldn't be happier with Buffalo Trim. Like, I don't know how often I have to go back there to maintain this. But, like, exactly this is the best I can look. This is the best we can do with me. Maybe I need a eye bag guy. Maybe I need makeup. I'm not going to do makeup. But maybe there's somebody that can, like, press that out. Or these bumps that show up, like, right here. See that? I got that on both sides. Like, I can fix that. But as far as, like, hair, facial hair, all this is great. Thanks, Buffalo Trim. Again, I'm not better looking than anyone. I'm just better looking than I was, and that's all I asked of them. I said, I'm 51. Can you get me back to like 45? Ta-da. I think they did it. Good job, guys. Timeout. Right back. Riter Radio. I forgot that I have a whole sheet of stuff I wrote down to talk about. Just kind of winging it. I'm still high off of last night. It's just awesome. So fun. I don't know if there's much here. Hold on. Maybe I did all this stuff because it was in my head. Brain Vault plus Brady recap. Brain Vault watching videos, jokes I missed. About Graham, Jeremy. I wrote, it was that good. I mentioned this, I don't know, when I was talking to Paul or talking to Ray, that, like, my brain, like, the next 40 things that are going to happen are all kicking around here while stuff's flying out of my mouth. So I'm talking, and if I hear noise coming from my left, so the way it was set up, it was me here, Jeremy, Tim, Greg. Sorry, my hands were way off the screen. I'm here. Nope, wrong way. I'm here. And then, this is wrong too. No, this is right. Jeremy, Tim, Greg. Again, I'm off the screen, but you get what I'm saying. Working from my left. And if I'm talking, I want there to be sound. I want there to be something coming from the stage. So if I'm talking, I'm thinking of the next stuff I'm trying to do, and then hoping when I stop talking, something happens over there. And it always did, because I had 3 professionals on the stage with me. We don't all, well, Greg is typically on a stage. He's clearly the most comfortable there. But the rest of us, we were fine. But I missed so many of the quick little jokes that were happening as Greg and Tim and Jer were just working to crack each other up. And, like, occasionally I wasn't listening. I wasn't in the moment with them as much as I should have been. And that's part of what Ray and I talked about, like, what we can improve. And it's, interacting more with the guy. I've got all these guys there. Like, they're all each one of them is a big deal. And they're all there. And then I just kind of hang out and ask trivia questions. And, like, there's a balance to be made here between a show and the trivia part. The trivia part is fun, but you can go to any bar trivia night for free. Why are you going to pay for this? Because it's a show. So me interacting with them. But I went back and watched some of the video. And those dudes are hilarious. There's so many little things that I missed that happened on the stage that, you know, if you were watching it in person, you might have, you know, missed a word here or there. But you at least were appreciating the vibe. I was working, so I missed some of it. But watching it back, it was awesome. It was really, again, I would take the 2 hours, I would condense it into 1 hour, and it would be perfect. Be like, holy crap, this show's amazing. As it was our first run, there were kind of little dead spaces, mostly because I've got to learn the software better. That's on me. But every time I tried to switch from one round to the next, it was like 8 minutes of nothingness. As I was like, that didn't work. It's not showing up on my phone. Like, that kind of crap. We edit that out. And in real life, we'll edit it out too. We'll get rid of it. I know how to fix it. It'll be better next week. I promise. But I had that written down. I wrote, it was underlined. That good. I wrote down a thing about Nick and Depew. Oh, and Arvind. So I want to say the guy's name is Arvind. It's I might have talked about this already. Did I? It's like a slightly unusual name, but there's a guy who's being really nice in the crowd. Kind of helped me out a couple times. Like, hey, Brad, like a little hint on we need a code for this, and this is locked out, and he was helpful. I was like, this guy's cool. I don't know who he is, but he's cool. And then he came up after the show and talked to me, and he's like, hey, I want to talk to you about advertising. I'm interested in advertising on your show. And I was like, all right, I'm listening. And he's got a new business that's just getting off the ground, and we exchanged phone numbers. And then he told me that he's been listening to me since the 90s, and then he told me his name, and I want to say it's Arvind, but I might have that a little off, but it's like an unusual name I haven't ever heard other than from a guy. I was like, did you used to email me all the time? He's like, yeah. I'm like, does your name start with R? He's like, yeah, and he told me it's a long name that starts with R. I was like, I like this guy. Like, there are a few people, probably 10 people, 20 people maybe, over the course of 30 years that have just constantly been in communication that I've never met. And I was super happy to meet him, and you might hear more from him if we do what he talked about. I've got his number, he's got mine, and I imagine we'll talk soon. And I initially thought he was talking about Brain Vault, that he wanted to be like a sponsor for that. And I said, you know, he told me what the business is, and I said, well, I think that would be a much better fit for the show, for Riter Radio. And he's like, yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I was like, oh, like, and you could come on it and talk about it. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, we could do that. So that might be coming, but like that, in addition to seeing friends that I see all the time and family that I see all the time, I saw family that I don't see all the time. I saw friends that I don't see all the time. And then I met people, you know, I'm singling out Nick, but Nick showed up with a gift. So that stood out. And, again, I showed the picture of it, but they're over there and they're just, I didn't have time to set them up as a part of the show yet, but I've got on-air Riter Radio lights, 2 different ones. One is like a black background, one's a white background. They're equally awesome. They light up. They're super cool. They're going to be a part of the show. I got to figure out how to use them with this setup, but they will be used. They're awesome. It's the kind of thing I've always wanted. I think I've told the story. I bought a thing that I thought would be a banner, or at least a sign like this big, that would hang behind me. That's an on-air light. I thought I was buying, I think I misspoke there. I thought I was buying an actual light. I can't find the thing. Hold on. I'm taking the headset off. I'll be right back, I promise. Oh, I'm gonna get the Nick lights too. Hold on. I'm coming, I promise. Should I put music on? I should put music. I'm going to put music on in case somebody tunes in right now. They're like, what's going on? Why am I looking at a wooden wall? All right, let's see. Music. Let's play this one. There, now there's something. Hang on, I'm getting stuff. We're going full show and tell mode right now. Kill the music. All right, music gone. So, Temu, man. I was on Temu. Temu, people make fun of it all the time, rightfully so. If you're on Temu and you buy 10 things, 2 of them will be great. 4 of them will be fine. 4 of them will be a joke. Like, how could this be $3? And then it gets there. You're like, oh, that's why it was $3. I haven't made a massive investment, but I had $80 purchase on Temu. You just get caught up in it. You're like, sure, I'll take that. I could use that. I need more hair clippers, just like dumb stuff. And one of the things I thought would be great, knowing that I do a show from my house, was an on-air light. And I tried to buy an on-air light, and it turns out it was a picture of an on-air light. So I thought I was buying a light. I misspoke when I said I thought I was buying a sign. I thought I was buying a light that was like this. And if it came out like this, that would have been acceptable. That would fall in the medium range of the Temu spectrum. But what they sent me was this. It's a picture. It's metal. It's on a little tin thing. It's a picture of an on-air light. So this sucks. I like it. I mean, it's cool. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's still in the packaging. I don't know what to do with that. So I got that because I was dreaming of having an on-air light. And in a perfect world, I would want it to say Riter Radio on it. And now it does. I'm going to show you one of the 2. But there's one. The other one is a black background. But it lights up. It's real. I know that's not coming across perfectly on camera, but it looks better unlit on camera. Should I get the black one to show you? And it's got different, so that's on off, but then there's 2 different buttons, and I figured out what they are. One, there are 5 different levels of lighting. One of them is obviously the dimmest, and one's the brightest, and there's a switch that pops between the 2, and then there's another switch that does it gradually. So let's see if you probably can't even see it on here, but it is changing gradually. You can't. On and off because it wasn't on. All right, here we go. How about that? And then this one just goes bright to nothing, or bright to dim. Bottom line, thanks, Nick. I've got 2 of these. They will be used for sure. There's definitely enough stuff in there that they link together. There's like LED lighting linking stuff that in the moment I couldn't figure out last night. But I think I can just put them together and they could surround me somehow. I don't know. I'm definitely going to get a picture of them and put that behind. I don't know. Something's happening with these, but they're awesome. So thank you. So that maybe my favorite thing about the whole night is getting these on-air lights. But I don't know, taking something from a concept and then proving, I don't know that we proved it can work. I proved to myself that it could work, and it will work, because it was a really good first night, and the second one's going to be better. So my brain's going to keep racing. I'm going to keep doing it. I appreciate the support and encouragement from family, friends, and strangers equally. Family has to do it. Friends are being friends. Strangers don't. You just walk away. You can ignore me if you want, but you're not. I think that's awesome. So thank you so much for that. FYI, they're not for linking together. The extra black cables are just extensions for convenience. Okay, good. Because I was staring at it going, how on earth do these go together? Thank you, Nick. Again, thanks for the info. But yeah, correct. Good. All right, good. I don't have to spend any time. You solved the problem for me. I don't have to spend time trying to use them the way that I thought they were supposed to be used by linking them together. They don't link. They're individual. That's helpful. Those are extension cables. Awesome. All right. I'm done with the show. Thank you to everybody for everything. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's what? Thursday? I have no plan right now for Thursday, but there will be a show. I'll do it. Hopefully there won't be a snow day. There's always snow days. It's nothing but snow days. Kids are in school today, though. They didn't have a snow day yesterday. Buffalo did, because talking to Jeremy, Jer's got 3 kids too. And 3 kids, again, too many kids. 3's too many. I like them all. They're cool. Each of them is cool, but 3 at once is rough. But tonight we have, I started the show talking about this. Tonight is, I'm not sure what we're doing. Somebody's missing something. Podcast, pick up Drew from Podcast Club. Whatever that, oh, it's not Morning Announcement Club. He's doing all the stuff that I did. But they offer it in elementary school now, so that's kind of cool. He does morning announcements. He did a Bills podcast. I think we played that. Pick him up from that. He has to stay after school for that. Zach stays after school and then takes a bus to his basketball game. That game is at 5. Nate has a concert at 6. Has to be there at 5:30. And then Zach has a concert at 7:30. So I will see for sure the 7:30 concert. And then I'll see probably either basketball or 6 o'clock concert. And my wife will see either basketball or 6. We'll all be there for 7:30. But I'm glad we have leftover pizza, because I have no idea how dinner works when everybody has to be somewhere at 5:30. 4. I have to be somewhere at 4. Then somebody else has to be somewhere at 5, and somebody else has to be somewhere at 5:30. No, Zach has to be there at 4:30. 4, 4:30, 5:30, and 7 are the times that the kids have to be at places. I don't know. We'll get through it. So I haven't thought about the show yet, because I got to figure out logistics of how the hell you handle having 3 kids that are involved in everything tonight. All right, I'm done. I'm going to stop now. He can't stop. You're right, I couldn't stop. I don't know if that's about me. Oh, yeah. As soon as, FYI, the general rule is as soon as Brad says he's done, the show typically has another half hour. Not today, suckers. I'm out. I quit. I don't quit. I just quit for today. I think there's a nap in my afternoon, because I can't run at this speed, man. I just can't. Go to lunch. I'm done. Bye.
I don't know. I have a turkey sandwich.
We're gonna go around the corner. I think you should come with us. This is a great place.
I don't know. Okay.
We brought you a shirt.
You get out of here? Will you get out of here? Will you? Now, will you go to lunch? Go to lunch. Will you go to lunch?